So, after months and months of him asking, Luke, when can I be in a video? I finally got Alex in. We've just been to see Shazam, and so Alex, I'm really glad you could come over and sit in on this recording.
Right, I'm not in the video.
No. Motherfucker!
Oh, hey, what's up? I'm a superhero.
Why do birds? This will be a great thumbnail.
thumbnail.
How's it going, guys? Welcome. Off. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Luke's Reviews, and on today's video, we will be reviewing Shazam. It is the newest entry into the DCEU, although Shazam takes quite a step-backed approach. It's not too involved in referencing other films. It's more its own entity. As you can see, I'm not alone in this video. I am, of course, joined by my good friend Alex. We used to have a radio show that we did together last year. That eventually fizzled out, but finally I got him in a video. And so, Alex, what did you think of Shazam?
It's alright.
Yeah, I think we both left feeling that it was good, it was entertaining, but nothing that we're going to remember like years down the line when you think of all the pantheon of superhero films that we've had within the past 2 decades. No one's going to think, oh yes, Shazam. Shazam is directed by David Sandberg, whose past films have included Lights Out and the only good Annabelle film, Annabelle Creation. It also stars Zachary Levi as Shazam himself. Billy Batson is played by Asher Angel, his close friend Freddy is played by Jack Dylan Grazer, and the villain of the film is played by Mark Strong. So Shazam follows the story of Billy Batson, a young foster kid who runs from foster home to foster home and eventually encounters a wizard, played by Djimon Hounsou, who gives him the powers of a god. So when he says the word Shazam, he turns into Zachary Levi, having powers of lightning, flight, super speed, basically an unstoppable force. However, as his popularity rises, he encounters Mark Strong, who has his own agenda to why he should face Shazam.
So this film is based quite heavily off Grant Morrison's New 52 run, which I think was around like 2011, which I absolutely loved that little series they done. But with the film, I think if you've read the comic, it is exactly like it. There's panel for panel. It's exactly the same.
See, for me, where I am pretty much unfamiliar with the New 52 run, I didn't have an issue with the fact that I found it predictable because I knew what was in the comics. I found it predictable because story-wise, it felt like I'd seen this film before, just obviously in a different context. What I do like about Shazam, though, is that it's fun. It's a fun film. It's a light, breezy adventure. It's kind of basically a superhero take on Big. You've probably heard that a lot of the time. However, it's quite refreshing to see it not have as high stakes as most superhero films do now, which means you can kind of kick your feet up and enjoy it for what it is, rather than worrying about what it connects to years down the line.
I thought Zachary Levi was perfectly cast. If you've seen him in shows like Chuck.
Never saw Chuck.
No, it was real good. He's like a man-child, basically. And
yeah,
I think that he's the perfect role for
that
this.
works, because obviously he's, in a way, playing a 15-year-old boy, and it works because he's got that charisma, he's got that immense likability, and so when he has these moments where he's got to release his inner child, it works because he is so energetic himself.
He's a very like goofy person as well, and you can sort of picture him actually being a 15-year-old boy.
Yeah, in a way,
like
just in a jacked man's body.
Yeah, very much.
Asher Angel as well, like he comes from a Disney Channel background, which you immediately, like, warning signals, just like, maybe he's not going to be that good. I thought he was actually pretty good. He adds a lot of humanity to Billy Batson, and he's got his own hurdles to overcome when he's in like his kid form rather than superhero.
No, I thought he was sort of okay for the part. He didn't wow me away compared to some of the other cast members.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought he'd done a solid job.
Also starring in the film is Jack Dylan Grazer, who we know from It. We saw him in It a few years ago, and he's really good in this film. He plays his friend Freddy, who is one of the other foster kids. I found his comedic timing to be great. He works well with Billy, but he also works wonders with Zachary Levi. The two of them have such just a natural, funny chemistry.
I totally agree. I thought he has some real good jokes in it. He brings a lot of humanity to the film as well, and he sort of really brings Billy Batson's Shazam sort of character sort of into focus. And it was like, look, what you're doing is like you're being an idiot. Like, stop being an idiot. Look at me.
Grounds it in reality.
Yeah, he grounds it. Freddy, I thought he's sort of very likable. He's you can relate to him. I don't know about you, Luke, but growing up, we were sort of like the nerdy kids.
Well, we still are.
Well, no, we still are
obsessing over superheroes.
Like the conversations they had in that film, we pretty much do on a daily basis.
Near enough, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that Shazam is pretty light on the action, but heavy on the wacky superhero antics. Like I said, it's big, but superhero. So there's a lot of scenes with Jack and Zachary as they're sort of testing out his superpowers, doing stuff that if a 15-year-old kid was granted superpowers and looked like a 30-year-old adult, probably would. Trying to go into shops and buy beer, going into strip clubs, being a complete maniac. So I like that it took that approach rather than all of a sudden he be burdened with this power and feel like he's got to save society. It's nice just to see a superhero kind of kick their feet up a bit.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that. It's nice having it sort of being light and breezy, not dark and brooding as say the rest of the DC films have been.
Some of them, yeah.
But I would like to have seen more action in it, and definitely a bit of variety in action, because a lot of the fight scenes in the film with Mark Strong and Zachary Levi kind of felt like the end of
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel.
Yeah, in a way, I
where
see
it's just
that.
sort of like fighting through a city, punching them through buildings,
Yeah.
and it's just sort of like it's stuff I've already seen and sort of seen better.
I feel like that is just Shazam in general. They play it very safe, and that works to the film's success, but also in its detriment. Because I think we'll get onto some of the negatives we had with this film. Because Shazam's good, it's not perfect. One of my main flaws is that whilst I said that it's refreshing, it's nice to see it kind of not bog itself down in lore and canon, I do feel like it played it very safe in terms of story.
Felt a lot of the sort of story plot points as well were ruined by some of the jokes in the film as well.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of times where you're like, oh, something serious is about to happen. Oh no, we're gonna throw a funny moment in it.
It was like, yeah, they threw a gag in when they probably didn't need to.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, Shazam is also quite long. This is about 2 hours 12, and again, I feel like they could have made this a nice and tidy 1 hour 50, and it would have been great.
For me, it didn't feel like the film dragged, but there were scenes where I was like, instead of devoting time to this plot point of the film, I'd rather them focus on another element.
That's fair enough.
Like Billy's personal journey, for example.
Yeah.
I feel like that didn't get enough screen time.
It was executed well, but you would have liked to have seen it developed even more.
Yeah.
So what did you think of Mark Strong as the villain?
He was alright. I mean, he didn't stand out for me as a villain. I like Mark Strong in it, but not as a villain. I think the villain was sort of by the numbers. I've got this tragic backstory, and that gives me a right to be a bad person. And it's just sort of like, I've seen it done before, I've seen it done better. The comic it's based off, what I mentioned earlier, the New 52 run, it's Black Adam instead of, I don't know, what's the dude's, was he?
It's like Dr. Thaddeus Savannah.
Something like that, yeah, and I was like...
I mean, it's never good if you cannot remember the villain's name. Like, if it doesn't roll off the tongue. So I liked Mark Strong. I liked him in the film. I hated the villain. I thought he was the most generic written antagonist you could have in a superhero film. Someone whose childhood is always rough and they've always been told that they're not good enough, so they have to take it out on the world, and he's just so happens to be granted with this power. Whenever the film cut to him, I was completely uninterested. I was like, take me back to Billy and Freddie and the other foster kids, because they were easily the most entertaining aspect of this film. So whenever it started focusing on Mark Strong and his evil plan, I didn't care. And when it came to the final battle, I was entertained, but at the end of the day, he was so poorly written that I really, really just lost all interest whenever the film became about him. Personally, for me, I wouldn't necessarily want a Shazam sequel. I think he's going to work a lot better in an ensemble piece, whether they were to do a Justice League sequel or pair him up with another current DC superhero. However, as the film goes, I think it's an easy watch. It's entertaining. You'll laugh. You'll get your money's worth. Zachary Levi, I think, is perfectly cast. I did have issues with the villain. I don't think the storytelling is that great, but as far as superhero films go, it's a good watch. I can't really complain too much.
No, as you said, it's light and breezy, it's fun, and it is entertaining. I just don't think it will go down in the hallmarks of not great superhero films. Like
Good.
just above good. Like,
Very good.
All right.
I think I've
said this a lot this episode.
Shazam is very good. Not quite great, but very good. So I'm going to give Shazam a 7.5 out of 10.
And I'll give it a 7.
Those are our thoughts on Shazam. Let us know what you thought of the film in the comments below, as well as I asked this in the review earlier, what current DC superhero would you like to team up with Shazam in a movie? Post your thoughts in the comments below. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and blog are in the description below. I'll also include a link to Alex's Instagram if you want to check his stuff out too.
Yeah, see you later guys, and thanks for having me, man.
That's no worries, anytime. Many thanks for watching guys, and I shall see you in the next video.